Alright, what's up my brothers? We got a requested video today from a viewer whose subject line reads, "Boys raises girls." So let's hop straight into this and throw it in. The stream guy was raised by a single mom. He goes on to say, "Hey Rich, I've been watching for some time now, and I would like to ask you for your perspective on what Kevin Samuels said about mothers raising boys as girls. That is at least on the side topic of his latest 2 streams. You know, this is interesting. Kevin's had meteoric growth. You know, it's just straight up vertical. I've watched a couple of his streams, but I found them after a while to be quite redundant, so I'm not familiar with what he's talking about specifically here, but the soundbite of boys being raised as girls. I think that comes from Rollo Tomasi, if we want to pinpoint the origin of it. Because one of the sound bites I've heard him say quite a few times, and he mentions in at least one of his books, is that boys are treated as defective girls in society today. Anyway, let's carry on. Read what he's got here, he says. "I watch as much of socially related topics on YouTube as I can because there's an unwanted son. So I'm guessing he was a surprise or wasn't planned for. Who had experience being raised by a mother? Primarily, I can confirm that I lack proper leadership skills, but I also lack proper socializing up to the age of 4. As Jay Peterson pointed out in his lectures, that is for some reason vital for success, but in my opinion, not as vital as leadership skills. One of the things that you were doing here, my friend, is you're kind of running around the YouTubes. It's almost like, a sheep-seeking shepherd, they're looking for guidance sort of thing. I understand it. It happens a lot with guys that have been raised in a single-mother household because they don't get any masculine energy. It's really bizarre. I've had conversations on all ends of the spectrum with guys that are complete plugged-in beaters that hate their fathers. And one of the first things that I'll say to them is reach out and talk to your old man. Find out if, he actually chose to leave their life, or if he was pushed out of your life, or if your mom prevented you from having access to your father growing up. There's 2 sides to every story. He may not be the POS that your mom is claiming him to be, but yeah, I get it. There's the father I never had, Jordan Peterson. There's Kevin Samuels. There's a lot of guys out there, guys who said that about me from time to time. So he's asking me to carry on here and say, would you mind exploring this rather disturbing subject by taking in depth about the ways mothers set their sons up for failure by, in my opinion, ruining their son's libido, prevent developing of social skills to be able to be liked by other people, and later on in teenage years, sealing the deal by not teaching leadership skills. So let's deal with these bit by bit. I think I covered some of this data in my book. You guys haven't got it. The Unplugged Off is available on Amazon. Pick it up. It's available in Kindle print and Audible. And if you've read it, do me a solid and just leave a quick review. Just helps me out a ton. One of the pieces of information that you're going to come across when you start looking at how children, especially boys, handle a single-parent household, which when they say single parent. What they're really saying is single mother, because 43% of children today are raised by single mom basically. And a situation where there's a divorce, women are still getting custody, something like 80-85% of the time. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough on kids, it's tough on boys and girls. The sorts of things that they've come across collecting data over the last few decades is these kids are far more likely. And I can't remember what the percentages are, but it's significantly higher. It's like 70-80% higher, are significantly more likely to be involved in gang activity, have terrible grades, become pregnant as a teenager, run away from the home, cut themselves, attempt a permanent solution to a temporary problem in their life. They just don't do well. It doesn't matter how you slice and dice it. Single moms are not doing a great job at raising useful members of society. But what do we see the government doing about that? Really nothing. They continue to encourage it. That the divorce laws are essentially catering towards women's hypergamous nature. I don't need no man, but I'll take his money, and I'll take his child and I'll have custody. and I may prevent him from having access, or because I'm the sole caregiver, I'm going to only let him see him like every other weekend or something like that. And it's a disservice. Children need both parents. They need the mother as much as they need the father. The ideal situation is two-parent household raising the kids. The next closest thing is 50-50 custody, where the child goes back and forth. Problem with that is women are rewarded for being the primary caregiver. A lot of money flows to them when they have custody. So that's what they usually fight for in family court. They don't learn the leadership skills he's talking about here. You need a father for that. You know, they just do a better job. But I'm not saying only dads are capable of teaching leadership skills. It's just they're better at it, you know, calling a spade, right, in my opinion. And he's talking about son's libido. I've not seen that one brought up yet. That's kind of new. I've talked to a few guys that have had problems keeping women around once they get into a relationship, or if they're spinning plates, they're dating, or whatever the case may be, they run into those problems because of frame, because they defer to the feminine. They become less, so she can become more. And then they go through the process of bettertization through 1,000 concessions, and the boy eventually loses a girl and he, like, wonders why I have not come across anybody that said that they've had issues with libido. With women that were raised in a single mother household. So that's new to me, preventing developing social skills. I'm not sure if the translation doesn't work, because I know at the bottom of here you say that you live in Eastern Europe. So maybe the translation from your language to English doesn't work exactly. But I'm just trying to point that out. You're talking about developing social skills. Yeah, I mean, how are you? How are you going to have strongly developed social skills if all you're doing is spending time with your mom? Generally speaking, the school system is taught mostly by women. I think something like 8 or 9 out of 10 teachers today are female. Unless you're in some kind of like masculine dominant sport as an extracurricular. Joining a dojo, you're learning combat sports. You know, you're learning some skills that are taught by men's football.